I'm Travis Justice with MCL Construction. On this episode of the Pillars of Progress podcast, we're introducing you to a man whose work is changing lives every single day in North Omaha. He's the CEO of the Heart Ministry Center, an organization that's not just providing food, healthcare, and resources, but it's creating dignity, opportunity, and hope for thousands of people each and every week. From his own life lessons to growing up in North Omaha, to stepping into leadership after an unexpected passing of his mentor, Damany Rahn, he goes by Dom, has helped grow Heart Ministry Center into a community hub that's breaking cycles, building futures, and inspiring real change. We'll talk about their upcoming sold-out event, Holy Smokes, the powerful programs they've helped develop like Fresh Start, and why Dom believes in meeting people where they are without judgment, but with accountability and compassion. This is more than a story about one man or one nonprofit. It's about the heart of a community and the people determined to see it thrive. Damany Rahn, what's going on, man?
I'm glad to be here. Yeah. Thanks, Travis, for having us. The Heart Ministry Center out to MCL here. Thank you.
You know, Heart Ministry Center's got a big event coming up. It's Holy Smokes. It's sold out for the second year in a row. Yeah. You've been out selling tickets. You're doing a good job.
20th annual Holy Smokes. So it's something that we've done every year for the last 20 years. This year, we've changed it up a bit. There's a team out there called the Nebraska Cornhuskers who plays on the Thursday that we typically have it before Labor Day. So we changed it to the 27th, which is Wednesday this year. And so we're expecting a sold-out, packed-out house. Satchel Grande is going to play for us. We've got a sort of a secret, a nice new thing we're going to add to the event this year, which will be really special for Heart and the community.
And what is that?
I don't know if I want to tell it just yet, Travis. Well, but I'll give you a sneak peek.
Okay. Tease us a little bit.
I'll give you a teaser. One of the things that we wanted to do after Mark Dare, our former CEO, passed away, was wanted to honor him. We're going to have a way to honor him in a really, really neat way that evening.
So, you bring up Mark, and you've been the CEO now for 2 years.
Yeah.
You replaced some really big shoes.
Yeah.
How's that been? Just to replace those shoes and come in and develop your own culture, develop your own style?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that question. I'll tell you, first let me say, not my shoes, not my path. But I will tell you, Mark was a brother to me. I'm a faith-filled guy. He was a brother in Christ to me. And he was a prep guy. And so they call him Men for Others. And so he was a Men for Others. He was a guy you would do anything for and have limited information in doing it, right? He just had that personality. So where we are today, when he passed away, which was unexpected and no one saw that coming. We made some changes necessary for where we're headed for the future, and social enterprise is more social enterprise on the horizon. We made a change here and there with some individuals, and we're off and running.
Mark was a prep guy. You're a Roncalli guy.
Absolutely.
But is that where you learned your spirit of service, should we say, was at Roncalli?
I'll tell you, that's where it was honed. Wisdom, courage, faith is sort of the mantra there, the motto, wisdom, courage, faith. But it was started in my home. Right. My mother was a youth pastor and a worship leader at the church that we went to. And so she gave me and my siblings a great faith foundation. And so Roncalli just sort of honed in it for me. And that's just kind of the way I've done business ever since.
So you've been with the Heart Ministry Center since 2015.
Yep.
Take me through your steps of what you've done at the Heart Ministry Center and how you got to CEO.
Sure. Yeah, I appreciate that. So I started 2015 as director of case management and social work. Heart's been around about 40 years. And so about 25 years ago, Heart got more serious about supporting folks in the community. It wasn't just what they called a door ministry where someone knocks on the door and gives you food and clothing. It got more serious. And as I came into 2015, we were developing case management and social work. And so that was my role, to put a program together where we weren't just meeting the basic needs, but we were, if you think of, say, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? That bottom rung is basic needs and food, shelter, clothing. We wanted folks to sort of self-actualize and get to a point where they were seeing themselves, seeing sort of a self-actualization and what they could achieve. And so that's really what case management and social work was about, or is about for us, getting folks to where they could be and not just staying sort of in the bottom rungs of life. And so, director of case management, social work, I did that for a couple of years. Our CEO changed. We did a restructuring, and I became associate executive director. So really that was support for the executive director, a guy who was sort of new in the arena. And so Mark and myself really kind of had the same title to support that role. Back in those days, there were just 8 of us, 10 of us. And so when I got to Hart, it was just 8 to 10 people, a lot of volunteer support, which we've always held on to. And then we changed again. And so really throughout my time, Travis, at Hart, I've done what Hart has needed. And so my role changed to director of case management and social work. And I had a couple things that I did in that space. One was to raise dollars, sort of low-hanging fruit. It was to get volunteers in the door, and then jobs for our Fresh Start program. Best I could, lay the foundation for some relationships with jobs. And then Hart pivoted again. And I did what was necessary to be a part of. Mark used to call it being the something like this, being the spoke on the heart-shaped wheel. That is our mission, right? And so I became our HR guy and really developed relationships in the building as we started to lay the foundation for being going from sort of a mom and pop organization to a business. So it really started laying the foundation for our, at that point, almost close to 50 employees. And so when Mark passed away, our senior leadership sat down, and in some ways it was almost like a hot potato, right? Who wants to do this? And because our hearts were so heavy, no one really wanted to pick up that mantle. And so it kind of got around to me at the end of it, and it was, Dom, you're it. You've been here the longest.
Tag, you're it.
Yep. And so that's what it was. And so we've run with it ever since.
Take the political climate out of everything, because everybody's got an opinion about something. But I think the Hart Ministry Center is a good example of people coming together for the common cause. I mean, we bring up Holy Smokes.
Yep.
You talk about your volunteers, talk about the number of donors you have.
Yeah.
I mean, you take a lot of that government bureaucracy out of it, and you run it yourself, and real results happen, don't they?
I'll tell you, Travis, what makes it easy for us to take the political stuff out of it is our model dignity for all. Right, dignity for all. So we just sort of stay straight down the middle, and we help and support any and everyone who comes through our doors. Coming to Hart might be the worst day of your life. No one, I truly believe this in my heart, no one wants to have to provide for their family in the way that we provide that resource. And so when you show up at Hart, you need something. You need fellowship. You need food. You might need a hug. You might need love. And so it might sound a little hokey pokey, but that's who we are. And we are who we say we are. And so we love for folks to come to Hart, get what they need, whether it be mental health, whether it be laundry, again, whether it be food.
Well, let's start with the services. We'll just start with the impact. I think a lot of people probably think of Hart Ministry Center and think of food pantry, right?
Yep.
My daughter went to Marion. My son went to prep. I had 2 other daughters who went to Duchenne. I think every one of them volunteered at Hart Ministry Center at one time or another. I volunteered there, and it is a fulfilling volunteer job. If you want to volunteer, do it. You'll have a blast.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people think of the food pantry first. You guys served like 3.9 million pounds of food last year.
Yep.
That was probably the beginning of Hart Ministry Center. I think what people think of. How important is that food pantry?
It's huge. So let me just kind of give you our mission, right?
Okay.
Providing food, healthcare, and a way forward. I told you we do some work in terms of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where that bottom rung is basic needs, but we want to get folks to another space. And so providing food, healthcare, and a way forward. The food pantry is really, really important because that's our captive audience. We're seeing anywhere between 1,000 to 1,100 people a week. And that affects probably 4,000 people per week, right? So you take 1,000 times 4, a family size. And so that's who we're impacting. That's the amount of people we're impacting in a week's time. And then that's that 4 million pounds of food. So it is huge because then we're able to share the other resources that Heart provides, right? The healthcare, when someone comes in for food, they're able to see that we have a healthcare clinic that serves folks for mental health, for dental, for OTPT, occupational therapy, physical therapy. For vision, we have a vision clinic, which is huge. And so the pantry side of things is sort of an entry point or a resource to the opening to the bigger organization.
Well, you mentioned healthcare. The Moen Healthcare Clinic is there. Is that free for people who go there? And because you have doctors and nurses on staff? Take me through that journey when people need health care.
Yeah, partnership with Creighton University. On staff, we have our own nurse practitioner, pediatrician, medical assistant, therapist, and it is free. We want folks to be not only healthy with nutrition and food, but healthy in their body, right? So they can be the best they can for their families, so they can be the best they can on their job. And so having that healthcare clinic, the Moen Healthcare Clinic on site there is really, really a big part of the whole, right? It's not just food. It is the whole. And so what we're hoping to do or trying to do with families that come in is get them well on the nutrition side, get them well on the mental health and the wellness side, and then a way forward, which is our form of case management and social work. Our most intense, what we call our most intense form of case management is our Fresh Start program, where individuals are working with us 15 to 20 weeks out of the year. And they're there. These are individuals who come to us from maybe prison, maybe homelessness, maybe not had a job in a long time, and they need to sort of retool some of their skills. And so they're there with us, working in our pantry area, working in our intake area, and they're getting those skills necessary, those soft skills, along with our 4 core values: community, compassion, accountability, and excellence. And then they're able to take that into the work world. And then willing partner, which is our, I guess you'd say, a less intense form of case management, more open-ended. These are the individuals that come to us and say, we need a little help and support with rent and utilities to get by or to make ends meet. I need help with my vehicle that broke down so I can get to work. And so that's how we help and support in that arena.
And people will be hearing this say, that's fine and dandy. That sounds like a free ride, but there's accountability that goes along with this.
Absolutely. There are no free rides. And that's why it's called willing partner, because we want to work with folks, individuals who are willing to work with themselves and have goals set. And so if we feel like it's starting to look or feel like a free ride, you're not going to get that type of support from Heart. You can still get food as necessary, but when it comes down to the financial support, you got to be invested. You got to have some skin in the game. You got to have, some investment in your own life.
How hard are conversations are those to have when that comes up?
They are hard because there are tons of places that you can just dial for dollars, right? Someone calls and says, I need help with rent. And we'll try to refer those individuals to those places. And it's no knock on anyone else. This is the way we like to do business, right? We don't want individuals to have to come to Heart and get their rent paid, right? We want them to get what they need and then pay it forward with someone else. And so we have tons of resources for jobs, for educational classes. And so it's not a free ride. I mean, there's some work that has to be done on their end.
And I mean, the end goal is, if you're using Heart, is not to have to use Heart, right?
Absolutely.
To be self-sufficient.
To be self-sufficient. You're absolutely right.
You mentioned the Fresh Start program. We've actually hired people at MCL from the Fresh Start program, and we've had people come here and go, this isn't for me, but I like a different part of construction, so that we lead them to like an electrical or mechanical and stuff like that. But it is getting somebody back into society that may have a hard time getting into society.
Yeah. The cool thing is we provide that sort of safety net for individuals to make mistakes along the way and then learn those skills, those hard skills and those soft skills. And then we're connecting with you, MCL or another community employer, and having a conversation about truly about who this individual is and what they've accomplished, of course, with their permission. And then there's sort of the soft handoff, right? And a partnership. And so it's funny you mentioned one of our first Fresh Start graduates was placed here. That's almost 8-9 years ago.
Yep, I remember that.
Yeah, yep. And he did well for a while. And so, yeah, we're hoping that we can get more community employers. We're hoping that more Fresh Starts come through our program and see the value in working and working hard. There's no silver bullet. I mean, you got to want it. You got to choose it. And what I say to folks is you got to want it like you want your next breath, right? It's when someone's coming to us from prison, from having had addicted or being addicted or being in an addiction issue, they've got to want to get out of that thing the way they want their next breath, right? And it's hard, it's tough. We've seen folks do very well. We've seen some folks struggle, right? But heart is always there. We're always there for those individuals.
I mean, I bet the stories you could probably tell and the things you've seen, does that grate on you mentally and personally? And how do you not bring that home to your own family and kids?
Yeah. Well, I'll say this. A couple things. One, you can't be at heart and be at the front door of the intake. And because of the way I was raised, I see myself in everyone who comes through the doors, right? And so you have to have an empathy that's great. And it's bigger than I'm just here to serve because I got some time to serve. You got to see yourself in individuals, because when you do, the gratefulness you'll feel in your heart is impactful, right? So I don't take it home, but I am grateful because I see myself in those individuals.
You know, you mentioned Mark earlier. I mean, he had his demons. I mean, there's no doubt about that, but he fought through that. I mean, did you ever experience anything like that growing up, or you're fortunate you had that good solid base at home?
I appreciate that question. I will tell you, and I didn't know how much, as I was contemplating how much to share about my life and what you might ask me, right? After I saw
I like to dig.
I'll say this. I came from a strange dichotomy. I told you my mother was a youth pastor. My dad was a street guy, right? Any day that ended in Y, we were in church. Any day that ended in Y, he was in the streets, right? But he had an ability and a knack for, he had a skill where he could fix any vehicle. He could fix anything that's broken. And he had an addiction, right? And so oftentimes I saw him in that addiction throughout my childhood years. And so that informed just my household, sort of informed sort of my worldview, right? And so as I went through life, I had some non-negotiables. Just had some non-negotiables. No matter what. I grew up in rough neighborhoods, by the way, right? So those non-negotiables came into play almost every day.
So what are those non-negotiables? Can I ask you?
I wasn't going to do hardcore drugs because I saw the problem that it caused in my own household. I saw the grief, and I saw the sort of, you take a family that went from, call it in the 60s, middle class, to in the 70s, poverty because of an addiction issue. And then the 80s hit, the crack epidemic hit, and it hit my household. And so really, because of the way I viewed life, I saw my dad, I saw my mother. I mentioned a strange dichotomy, Travis, because although my dad was a street guy, you would think he was mean and brash. He was a very loving guy. He just had an addiction, right? My mother was a church woman, and she was rough, right? So she was probably 5 feet tall, maybe. My dad's about 6 feet. And I got the short end of the stick, but no, but she was a rough lady. Her father was a drill sergeant in the Army. And that's kind of the way she raised me and my siblings. And so there's sort of this dichotomy. You thought, well, this saint of a woman you'd think would be so loving and caring. It was more so about accountability. right? And my dad was a loving, sort of fun-loving guy. He's still around. My mother passed away many years ago. But that household, my household, informed my worldview, right? Faith foundation. It allowed me the ability to discern certain things in my neighborhood and in my household. And so it's the way I've done business my whole life.
But I'm sure it helps you tremendously in the role you're in and the people you serve on a daily basis. Absolutely.
And so we have to be careful, right? That we're not in a situation, because I've seen it since I was 10 years old. I'm 48 years old. This is probably information a lot of people didn't know about me. It'll go out to the world. But I told you my dad had just a serious addiction problem. And so there were times that I gained adultified behaviors because I had a younger sister and I wanted to make sure my mom had what she needed they were married, but she was more like a single parent because my dad was in and out of jail, in and out of prison because of that addiction.
And it's interesting because you can go one of two ways. You can learn from it and go, I don't want to do that.
You got it.
Or you go down that path. You made the decision and said, I'm not going to go down that path.
You absolutely. One of the things we say, you spot it, you got it. You got it, you spot it. And so I told you about discernment, and non-negotiable for me was I'm just not going to do hardcore drugs.
Right? Were you the first in your family to go to college?
I wasn't. I have an older brother. He's 9 years older. Smart dude. He went to the military, Air Force, and then he actually went to college, UNI, and then went to the military, and he was stationed in Tacoma, Washington for many years until he got out and became a police officer. But I can tell you I was the first to go to a HBCU, historically black college. So I told you I went to Roncalli, and so I wrestled and played football, and I was just good enough. Back in those days, it was Dana College. I don't know if you remember Dana.
Up in Blair.
Yep. And so my wrestling coach, God rest his soul, the great Joe Edmondson, he was in a wheelchair.
Oh, yes. Yep. Down at the Y.
Absolutely.
I cut you. In my TV days, I talked to Joe a lot.
Yep. A great guy. I mean, just a beautiful soul. And so I was just good enough maybe to go to Dana. And I was like, I don't know if I want to go to Dana. I just had tore up my knee twice in high school, wrestling and football, and I don't know if I want to do this. And then there was UNO. Maybe I'll go to UNO, right? I don't know if I want to do this, but there was a reason. So I told you about the addiction that my dad had. It got to a point where we had to leave that home and go live with my grandmother. And as we went to live with my grandmother, I slept on a couch in the basement. And this was a couch that many of our family members had slept on. My grandmother's house was like family central. At any given time, there were 5 to 10 family members kind of coming through and opening the refrigerator, getting what they need. But at any given time, there were also probably 5 to 10 family members living in that space. And so I when we moved in with my grandmother, sort of carved out a place in the basement with this old couch, right? And so I mentioned this is relevant because for me, I could have went to Dana and wrestled. I could have went to UNO and been happy there. But I also knew that in the summers, I'd be coming back home to that couch, right? And I saw many a dreams fade away on that couch. And so I was determined I'm not going to stay on this couch, whether it be the summers or Christmas so I'm going away to college. And that's what I did. I went to Langston University in Langston, Oklahoma. And it was probably the best thing I could have ever done and getting away from home. I had great mentors, great guys and my older brother who sort of guided me and showed me a way to go without making some mistakes and hitting my head.
So in your role now, ideally, you'd like to serve no one because there would be no problems. Yep. That would be the ideal situation. Yep. Is it getting more demand, less demand? What are you seeing today?
More demand. Again, I don't want to get political, but as the political climate is what it is today, The cuts in SNAP, the cuts in Medicaid, Medicare. We're seeing more individuals who need support, right? And as I mentioned earlier, Travis, I just have to believe no one wants to provide for their family in that way, right? But because our Heart Ministry Center is on the corner of need and opportunity, right? Where we meet a need and we meet an opportunity, or there's an opportunity that's gained from meeting that need. Folks access Heart. And so there's no shame in it. This is not like, again, I told you when I was a kid, my family needed to go to pantries, needed to get, I remember I have this picture of Ronald Reagan holding a block of cheese. I have it on my phone right now. And it's a reminder for me, in the 1980s, right?
Government cheese.
Government, absolutely. And so no one wanted to have to provide for their family in that way. But if you do, you'll make a way, right? My family, again, because of the addiction issue, became very resilient and made a way. So we knew all the churches to go to, all of the community action places to go to get food. And so when you become resilient, when you have to provide for your family, you'll find the places. And Heart, the thing I love about what we do is we make it easily accessible to come in and utilize our services.
If you've never been to Heart Ministry Center, it's on 24th and what's the street?
Yep, it's 2222 Benny.
Okay, Benny, that's what it is. So it's just right off Benny Street. You can go down 24th, take a right on Benny, and you're right there. I highly encourage anybody to go just tour the facility. I think your heart will be warmed. And I will say this, it's no pun intended here. Heart Ministry is the heart of North Omaha. I mean, in more ways than one.
Yeah. That 24th Street was the street of dreams, right? And so, I mean, the amount of athletes and folks that we know in this community that came from 24th Street, right? We're proud to be on 24th Street between Benny and Wirt. We're on the campus of Sacred Heart Church and school and Q's. And so it's a campus. So folks can get their food needs, their spiritual needs, their academic needs met. Although we're not the same organization or we work very closely. And so folks have easy access. It is truly the heart of North Omaha. And the community I call Heart a community center first. That just so happens to have food, healthcare, and a way forward.
That's a great way to look at it. A community center for, I mean, you walk in, you have the art program down there too. I mean, there's so much down there that's so inspiring. What fills your bucket daily? Mm-hmm. What fills your bucket?
Oh, man. I don't mean to get emotional, right? But when I see that kid and those families that come through and get what they need and they do it with so much dignity, it's done with so much dignity. We love on people. We want them to come back if they need it, right? It fills my bucket to see that family, that kid happy, right? When you go to a place like Heart, you're probably coming with a lot of fear and trepidation. You don't know anyone. What paperwork do I need to fill out? Who's going to see me? And then when you get there, it's like, oh, this isn't as bad as I thought, right? This might not be as bad as I thought it was. Buffy Summers, you mentioned the art program, Art from the Heart. She'll grab that kid as the parents are sort of going through that process and doing the paperwork. And in grabbing that kid, it erases the stigma that it is going to a pantry, right? That kid might not even know or realize they're in a pantry once they get in that art room. They get that toy, they do that art, they get that book, and she'll take them back to the parents. Right. And so it erases that stigma associated with being in a place like that. And then the other thing is, we like clean, well lit, and safe. That's sort of the model for our laundry, social enterprise laundry down there. Clean, well lit, and safe. And so if it's clean, well lit, and safe, we think it's dignified. And we think we're operating in excellence, accountability, and excellence. So I mentioned it's a community center first. We're accountable to North Omaha. Right? Because that's where we are. That's who we are. I mean, those are the folks in that building. I'm born and raised in North Omaha, and I'm proud to say it. Grew up on 41st in Miami and about 36 in Larimore. And at the time, Travis, those were rough neighborhoods. rough, right? And so I told you I had some non-negotiables. And so every day I was working those non-negotiables as I traverse getting on the bus and going to school,
So we call this the Pillars of Progress. You are a pillar, and you are making so much progress in North Omaha and Heart Ministry Center. Thanks for coming up here and having a conversation with it. I hope I didn't pry too much.
Nah, I almost got a little emotional, but I appreciate the opportunity to be on the show here. And I will mention a couple things. One, our social enterprises, our laundry, which I mentioned, which is right there on 24th Street.
Beautiful laundromat.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
That's awesome.
Well, we built it, so yeah.
That's right. Yep. And then our Fresh Floral, which is on about 49th and Dodge. The designers, they're doing great work. And they're doing work all over the city. So
and anybody who needs flowers can just go there and get their flowers.
Absolutely.
Right? So
your flower needs and your laundry needs taken care of. And for the future, which is probably a teaser, you have to have me back. We'll have more social enterprise in the future. Well,
I'm going to see it. Holy smokes. I'm going to be on stage with you, but I appreciate the time. And if people want to volunteer, if they want to donate, what's the best way to do it? Just go to the website or go to give them a call?
Yep. If you want to donate, reach out to Rick Berger. He's at rick@heartministrycenter.com. And if you want to volunteer, reach out to Miss Jackie Dumas. It's Jackie@heartministrycenter.com. Or you can go to the website.
Damany Rahn, thank you so much for being our guest. And thank you for watching the Pillars of Progress podcast, brought to you by MCL Construction. We'll see you next time.